Good morning. How are we? It is Thursday, 4th of March. Hope we are all good. Today we're talking about cholesterol. Cholesterol, what are the best foods to lower it? That was a question I had. And can you lower it via nutrition? Firstly, it is quite individual based in that I just want to say that some people actually genetically have higher cholesterol than others. So what I say today may have less impact on that. But this is generally for metabolically healthy, other than cholesterol, of course, otherwise you wouldn't be asking the question. And also genetically, people are hypersensitive to certain things. So, generally, for example, the old myth of like eggs raising your cholesterol, that will only be the case in a very small minority of people, and even then it's probably going to increase your HDL, your good cholesterol. So just to explain it before we get into it, you've got HDL cholesterol, you've got LDL cholesterol, and they make up your total cholesterol. You might also hear about triglycerides, which again is a really important factor on this, but no one actually talks about so much, but is really important because that's kind of your free fatty acids going around. Morning, Marie. Give me a hello if you're coming in. So your HDL cholesterol, I see that as almost like the taxi driver that comes in and it takes your LDL, which is your bad cholesterol, which is sitting in your arteries chilling, which you do need it. So the fact that it's called bad is, you could say, is a little bit biased and a bit unfair on the poor old guy. But however, so imagine you've got an artery like this, and on the side it's nice and smooth, that's cholesterol, but that smooth lining gets larger and larger, it gets narrower and narrower. That's that LDL cholesterol building up in a nutshell. This is a very simple way to explain it. Then in your liver, that's where you can process cholesterol and kind of get rid of it. And it takes HDL cholesterol comes. So it's like a taxi driver comes, parks up in your arteries. It says, look, bad cholesterol, come in, we'll take you to the liver and we'll get rid of you. And that's why your total cholesterol can sometimes, it's still an important factor, of course, but it's good to get a ratio of good and bad cholesterol, because the higher your good cholesterol, technically the lower risk or association with heart disease. Now, before I go into this, good morning, Sue. Before I go into this, I've said before I go into this before, haven't I? I could be on all day. I do warn you, I do go off on tangents. I get into it a bit too much. Forgive me. Anyway, if you're still here, you must be interested in it, which is good. So one study showed that every kilogram of weight loss is associated with a decrease in your bad cholesterol and increase in your good cholesterol. So first and foremost, like doing things that encourage fat loss, or things that, and I spoke about this before, even if you're trying to lose body fat, you're doing things that are associated also with lowering your cholesterol. So even if your weight isn't going down, but you're trying to do it, you're trying to lose weight, you're trying to lose fat, you're probably doing things that are quote unquote associated with a healthier lifestyle, and these things could be lowering your cholesterol independent of your weight, even though the research actually shows that every kilogram of weight loss is associated, doesn't mean causation, with a decrease in your bad cholesterol, increase in your good cholesterol. And this is because you might be eating more fiber as well. So even if you don't lose the weight, you could still be seeing a lot of benefits with your cholesterol. If you are becoming metabolically more healthy and lowering your inflammation in your body by getting more toned, you could weigh the same. I know, Sue, you've mentioned that quite a few times, that the weight hasn't shifted how you want, but then you're like, oh, 9 inches down. That's a nice surprise. So it's important to measure as well, because waist circumference is again a risk factor for metabolic disease, aka heart disease, diabetes. So we know there's a strong correlation between our waist and hip ratio. More on that another day. Our waist and hip ratio associating with that, with our risk of disease. So all these things come into it. Now, going into the specifics around nutrition, as this was the question, and although like you can see here, morning Jane, it takes me quite a while sometimes to actually answer the question. This is why I'm quite hard to live with. Mrs. Fruci must ask me a question. Why have you left the cupboard door open? Well, basically the research shows that people who leave the cupboard doors open, no, I don't do that, don't worry. So what foods could help you lower your cholesterol? So number one, oats. You've probably heard of that before. It's all over the packaging, and I don't blame them for it. This is called beta-glucan. Beta-glucan is also actually found in mushrooms, but in quite low amounts. However, go to town on mushrooms. They're nutritious, healthy for you, and filling, and low calorie. So it would equate to around 2 to 3 bowls a day of porridge, but that doesn't mean that one bowl is pointless, but the research-driven amount is around 3 grams a day of a type of fiber called beta-glucan, which is found in oats. So porridge is quite a good food for that. Now, the fiber, if you think of fiber in general here, and this is just what I want to touch on, fiber is something that can bind to cholesterol, so that will help lower your cholesterol in general. That's why when you hear like, oh yeah, a keto diet is really bad for your cholesterol, it could be if it, like in certain individuals, if they're eating high amounts of saturated fats and trans fats maybe even, but they're eating quite low vegetables, because if their fiber intake's low, then that could be a risk factor for them. But fiber will almost counterbalance that. So unsaturated fats, so the research shows on here, polyunsaturated fats and monounsaturated fats are generally associated with lower cholesterol than, say, people who use more saturated. So argument's sake, if you switched from butter to olive oils, and lots of olive oils as general is going to be better anyway. Omega-3, that's polyunsaturated, so oily fish. All these types of fats in your diet are going to promote more of a lower cholesterol profile, maybe even raise your HDL, your good cholesterol too, which is cool. But that's not to say that saturated fats are bad, because it's not that to say that they even raise your cholesterol. It's more to do with they're neutral. But like if you replace that with like olive oil and kept your calories the same, because remember what I said about weight before, and calories are still king here as well. But if you swapped like butter for olive oil and you kept your calories the same, argument's sake, the monounsaturated and the polyunsaturated are more associated with a lower cholesterol profile. So instead of being neutral, you may actually lower it. So that's how that works. You might have heard of plant sterols and stanols. They block the absorption of cholesterol, and they're found generally in vegetables and nuts anyway. But you've probably seen them in yogurts as well, like the cholesterol lowering yogurts. But the problem is, if you're probably going to have to drink quite a lot of them to get the impact, and then you're increasing your calories, and you might should be increasing your consumption. Then if weight's an issue, and that could be a trigger for higher cholesterol, then that might not actually do us any good, because we're actually chasing the wrong number. If we get so fixated with cholesterol, we might lose track of our fat loss or of becoming more of a healthy weight, or whatever it is that our main goal is. And then all of a sudden we're actually losing sight of where we are at the moment. So what I would say is you can have them, but just know that they are found in vegetables and nuts as well. So there was a really good diagram. I'll get it up and share it with you now, actually, because I've got it on my computer right now, so which is really helpful. And this is just from a research study, which, and if you want me to, I can post it in the comments actually. I'll just turn my screen around. Hopefully you can see it clearly. So this is from a study on here, and this is what they showed in the study, a way to reduce your cholesterol by around 33%. So that's 3 grams of beta-glucan, so that's from the oats, 15 to 20 grams of soy protein, 30 gram portion of nuts in the day, 2.5 grams of plant sterols, stanols. So that could come from vegetables, that could come from like the yogurt, 5% reduction in saturated fat, 10 kilos of weight loss. But what you'll see is, like, just generally, if you was to really just like put these in a bracket here, that's generally increasing your protein intake and generally lowering your calories and generally increasing your fiber intake, which are all things that are probably going to help with your fat loss, which again will probably then coincide with cholesterol as well, like the research shows. So it's a bit chicken and egg actually, but like I said, don't beat yourself up if you're not getting the results you want right now, because it's all contributing towards it. So next one is soluble fiber, and this is again just fiber found in fruit, vegetables, pulses, lentils, beans. But what I just want to stress on is that when they look at low fat versus high fat diets, and this comes up a lot, I've got high cholesterol, I need a low fat diet. The research actually shows that low fat diets decrease your bad cholesterol, which is great, but then high fat diets tend like high fats full of monounsaturated, polyunsaturated, like the ones I suggested, tend to actually raise your good cholesterol. So, which are like the taxi driver, which takes away the bad cholesterol. So it's quite a bit of a like, well, what's the best? And obviously it's never like going one way, but knowing that actually asking is always a good thing to ask. You know, what's my bad cholesterol? What's my good cholesterol? Where's that at the moment? What's making my total higher if it is? It's always a good thing to ask. But generally, if we're making those swaps, we're going to help with fat loss as well. Like if we're all of a sudden eating more oily fish, our fats are more coming from monounsaturated, it probably means you're eating more fiber as well. If you're on that journey, like I said, to trying to lose that next 5 kilos of weight, whatever it is, next 5 pounds, whatever it is, you're probably doing things that are going to be good, whether that's exercise, whether that's muscle strengthening exercise, toning up, whatever it is, that's all going to help you going forward. And just to step back from that, like, we know that beating ourselves up and not getting the result we want today is probably doing more harm than anything else. Like, you could say, oh, I just have some saturated fat. Oh no, that's gonna. But the research isn't that black and white. What is black and white though is if you beat yourself up for doing that and then just think, sod it, I might as well just go off on it. That is probably going to lead to you then getting worse results than the actual thing you did itself. So just step back sometimes and actually just consider, okay, does this mean I failed? Does this mean I need to comfort eat? How much does it cost me to comfort eat? How much does it cost me to put off exercise again? What's it costing me right now in the way I feel, in my energy levels, my productivity? What would be different if I did do that? If I just shorten the gap between when I went off or when I thought, I failed now, that saboteur voice comes in, because that saboteur voice is silent when you're in the present moment. When you're doing, it's not there. It's only when you're thinking. When you're thinking about stomaching, you're in the past or the future. The likelihood here is that will come up. Oh, you won't be able to do it then, though. You won't be able to do it when we reopen and you've got a meal out. You won't be able to do it then. All these things that come up, but you can worry about them then. If you're doing it right now, then you're doing it right now. So we need to worry about. Just make the right decision in this moment now and just practice. Like I said yesterday, practice delaying instant gratification. Because when you're thinking about instant gratification, you are in the moment right now, but you're seeking something that doesn't align with where you want to be in the future. In the moment right now, just commit to making the right choice in the moment, the choice you really want to make, and get really present. How am I feeling right now? How do I want to feel? What am I willing to do to create that feeling? So I hope that helps. That was a ramble, as always, but let me know what you took home from that. That was quite full on, wasn't it? But let me know what you took home from that, and any questions, as always, do let me know. Our next Kickstart begins on Monday, the 8th of March. So if you want more information about that, do come in. It is for ladies 40 plus who are in the Marlborough Devizes area. You could come in from beyond as well, but it just depends on you and what kind of you need help with most. So any questions, just let me know and I'll see you soon. Take care.